Did I ever aspire to be a hero? The answer is no. I was never interested in anything so grand. I simply wanted to help anyone in trouble if I could. I know it's just my ego. Hey there. Huh? What is it, man? That's why, at that moment too, I didn't think about why my boss at work was being hassled by some tough-looking guys. I just stepped in. And then I was in it. Even though my dominant arm hardly moved. Hey, why do you have that scar? And earlier, you said you knew about us. One of the men aggressively grabbed my arm. It just so happened that an old scar was exposed because of that. Yes, for most people, it was just a visible scar. At least, except the man in front of me. That's all it meant. Huh? Oh, you recognize this scar, don't you? Because it's from when you desperately slashed at me before I restrained you. That arm. That scar. I realized that unintended events probably start with such small rifts. My name is Carter. I work for a major newspaper. I don't have a particular passion for journalism, but I feel indebted to this company that hired me, and I try to be useful in some way every day. Hey Carter, about this part of the article, could you check the interview notes again? They're already on your desk. Ooh, thanks. Man, you're always on top of things like this. Really? Well, I thought you might need them when reviewing. Really appreciate it, but man, your handwriting is awful. Sorry. Right, your right hand. My colleague looked apologetically at my right arm. Only my right hand is visible because I'm wearing long sleeves, but I can't move it very well. It's not congenital. It's due to an injury, but it's been this way for many years now, so I don't feel any particular hindrance in my daily life. Except in cases like this. Can you give me a moment? I'll put the data together and hand it to you. No need. I'll try to check it while reading this. If I have questions, can I ask? Of course. Before joining this newspaper, I was part of a special forces unit. We maintained order, handling situations too tough for the police or other agencies. I was injured in an incident, sustaining a large wound from my elbow to my wrist. And after rehabilitation, I managed to regain some mobility, but I couldn't return to my original unit and had to start job hunting. When I lost my job, I felt a sense of loss, for sure. But more than that, the urgency to secure a livelihood was stronger, so I don't remember feeling down. I applied to companies I had never experienced before, but as soon as I disclosed my background, everyone uniformly responded with concerns like what if he leaks company info? Or who knows who might hold a grudge against him. We don't want to get involved. And I was universally turned down. The only company that hired me was my current one. During the interview, the president handled it and said, "This job requires a sense of justice, and maybe you could use the skills you've developed." I was nervous then. After all, the president had an unusual sparkle in his eyes. Maybe he's watched too many spy movies. I thought so. But hey, if he's gonna hire me, I'm all for it. So, I didn't make any corrections on purpose. While I was doing the final check on the article my colleague submitted, suddenly someone called out to me. "Mr. Carter, do you have a moment?" She is Ms. Sanders. Younger than me, but a capable editor-in-chief. She's handled numerous articles and always puts the interviewees first, earning a lot of achievements. She approached me with her arms crossed, holding out a USB drive. "This manuscript. Are you sure you've thoroughly verified the background?" "Yes. I've listened carefully to both sides during the interviews and based it on that." "You don't have to shout. I can hear you just fine." Sigh. "Well, all right. I did check the content, and if what you say is true, you've been a bit soft on the victims. It makes it seem like it's inevitable for the perpetrator to commit the crime, as readers might think. I'll check it. That's why I said stop shouting. Just talk normally. I can hear you." My loud response and editor-in-chief Sanders raising her voice in turn did not cause the other employees to look our way. They continued their work as usual. She sighed deeply and just said, "Please do it," before walking away from me. I'm used to it, but man, you really do raise your voice when you talk to the editor-in-chief. It's not on purpose. I just get nervous, you know. Well, I get it. She's young yet capable, assertive, and also happens to be beautiful. Anyone would be nervous. That's why it happens. You weirdo. You don't get like that when interviewing some big shot or something. Because I'm not nervous then. You should be a bit nervous there. I've read her articles several times, though only since I joined this company. Her articles are always written with impartial words. Everyone naturally behaves their own thoughts when reporting or broadcasting something. She doesn't have that. It makes me wonder if she's even human. Her articles are so impeccably accurate. They don't seem to be written with any intent of what the reader should think, just reporting the facts as they are, truly embodying journalism. One day, I asked her what she thinks about when she publishes articles. "What are you thinking about when you put out articles, Editor-in-Chief Sanders?" Why the sudden question? I think I still don't understand the world very well. You're young. True, but it's not about that. Sure, I can write articles based on what I like or dislike, but I don't think that's what people are looking for. They're not looking for that, What we deal with is just information. Information doesn't have good or bad, and it's easy for the person sending the information to manipulate the person receiving it. I hate that. So, you make it a point not to bring your own thoughts into it. Yes, some people might have a bad impression of issue A, while others might see it positively. I think it's good that people have these individual opinions. Twisting them to convey something would be arrogant, don't you think? Just telling the truth. She continued to teach me about her dedication to her work. If we reported with malice, public opinion would surely be swayed significantly. There's plenty of history to show that. She probably knows this, and thinks that's not how journalism should be. Hearing her views, I respected her. It was refreshing to see someone take such pride and responsibility in their work. I had never considered that my idea of justice and someone else's could be different. Thinking about it would probably make it impossible to do my job, which is why, although I understood, I might have been keeping a lid on it. Despite that, her words were like a bolt from the blue. From then on, I decided to learn the ropes from her. It's a bit old-fashioned to say I became her apprentice, but that's pretty much it. Well, I do feel bad for increasing her workload. One day, as usual, I finally finished the article assigned to me and was on my way home. I had been working late recently, so I thought I'd head home early and get some sleep. As I was heading home, I spotted a familiar figure downtown. Editor-in-Chief Sanders. I stopped myself before speaking out. The person I was about to call out to, Editor-in-Chief Sanders, was surrounded by some tough-looking guys. Even from a distance, it was clear that she wasn't having a pleasant chat with these men, but the people walking by didn't try to intervene, just hurriedly walked past, pretending not to see. Editor-in-Chief was desperately trying to distance herself from them, but there were 7 of them. I immediately called the police, succinctly explained my location and what was happening, and hung up. It might take some time for them to arrive, but what to do in the meantime? Ideally, I would jump in right away, but could I realistically take on 7 men? Using force isn't practical. Even if I took them by surprise, at best, I could neutralize 2 or 3. Still, I couldn't just say, "I've called the cops. Now it's none of my business." If my dominant right hand weren't so impaired, it wouldn't even be a moment's hesitation. But feeling frustrated, I glared at Editor-in-Chief Sanders and the tough-looking men. I steeled myself and took a step forward. As I approached them, I tried hard to think of what to do, but all I could see was a series of potential failures. It was almost certain that I'd start with a calm approach, but what then? As I got closer, close enough for them to hear me, I looked around. Is there anything I could use? Is there anyone who could help? After much thought, I realized there was nothing. But at the same time, I also realized something else. More accurately, I remembered something. I'm not sure if it'll work, but well, it might be worth a try. Hey, what do you want, man? She doesn't like it, you know. If you're gonna hit on someone, you might want to dress better. It's not a pickup, big bro. Can you just stay quiet? We had an appointment first. Okay. Or maybe, senior, we should just chit this guy up too. What are you talking about? We wouldn't just start something with a regular guy. Then maybe you shouldn't be starting something with her either. Hey, man. Look carefully. We're not trying to do anything rough here. Just need to talk to this lady. That's your convenience. She doesn't seem to want to talk, does she? Don't just come out of nowhere and start rattling on. The boss was about to let you off the hook. Look, stopping might be in your best interest too. Causing a scene in such a busy place, you'd be out with just one strike. Watch your mouth. One of the tough guys grabbed my shirt and yelled. The noise, louder than any before, made passers-by turn and hastily move away as if fleeing the scene. Mr. Ortiz, this guy's no good. Doesn't look scared, and if he sticks around, it'll just take longer. All right. It's me. He'll get yelled at by the old man, but yeah, okay. He does seem like a troublesome kid. Huh? Well, if you guys are gonna use force, I've got my own plans too. Oh, that's interesting, bro. What are you gonna do? Huh? Go ahead, try something. Just to let you know, that's all right. No need to introduce yourselves. I know. You know. What? You're just a regular guy, aren't you? I'm not in the same business as you guys. As the man grabbed my shirt, I reached out with my right hand. It's all right. Even if I can't move my hand well, I can still manage to shake him off. As I slowly extended my right hand to knock his arm away without him noticing, the man called Ortiz grabbed my right hand. What are you planning? Nothing. But I'd really like him to let go now. My shirt is going to get all wrinkled. As I shook off his grip, the button from my sleeve flew off. And then Ortiz, perhaps noticing the scar, was the first to freeze. Why do you have that scar? And earlier, you said you knew about us. Yeah, I do know. You recognize this scar, don't you? Because it's true. You were the one who desperately tried to slash me before I apprehended you. The unit I was part of is only called for major incidents. Other than that, it's all training. That's just how it is. I guess special units aimed at maintaining public order are more or less the same everywhere. Well, I don't know about other units since I've only been in mine. Then, naturally, if there's an incident, we get called. Apparently, it was a crime gang that had kidnapped some rich guy's daughter and was demanding a huge ransom. We get briefed during transport, but it's not like we go into detailed background checks or learn the criminal's motives. How many targets are there? What are they armed with? What's the method and procedure for suppression? Any additional info? That's about all we're told. Who's thinking what and doing what to whom isn't our concern. Such details aren't necessary to know. How to cleanly suppress the situation. Whether it can be resolved with minimal damage. How to cleanly suppress the situation with minimal collateral damage is what matters. I was in charge of the raid on that kidnapping case. My colleague kicked down the door, and I was the first one in. And that's when the guy slashed at me. I remember his face. Although I dropped my gun when I was slashed, I neutralized him and left him for my colleagues to handle. He must have been the lowest rank or perhaps their front line against us. As we moved deeper into the building, better-dressed men appeared and were also neutralized by us and the colleagues. I didn't realize how badly I was injured at the time due to the adrenaline, but neglecting the wounds resulted in the condition of my right arm today. Of course, at the time, I had no idea I had sustained such serious injuries. I was too focused on rescuing the hostage. I still remember, though it was a bit shocking, that the first thing the hostage did when she saw me was to scream briefly. I later heard that it was members of a gang struggling with finances who had surprisingly turned to kidnapping. Since we were able to arrest almost all the gang members, I guess that was a good outcome. I thought my face was mostly covered during the raid, so I assumed there would be no issues, but it turns out the guys we caught recognized me and were terrified, as the detective told me with a laugh. That makes sense. A man whose right hand barely moves after getting slashed, restraining grown men nonchalantly. No way, you're not, are you? That guy. I'd say that's right. I was one of the ones who raided and arrested all of you. Mr. Ortiz. Guys, let's go. Hurry up. We've been spotted by some tough characters. Ortiz and the others hurried away, and the men following him looked back in confusion. It seems like the danger to her has passed. I turned back to Editor-in-Chief Sanders, who had been watching the exchange from behind. Are you okay? Okay, I suppose. But you? Yes. That arm. That scar. Right. I've only told you that my right hand is disabled. Yes. Before I joined this company, well, it's kind of vague. It's okay. Maybe it's better not to talk too much about such things, right? But I recognize it too. You recognize it. Some of those guys look familiar, and they changed their attitude when they saw your scar. Did you ever help rescue a kidnapped girl in the past? Yes, I did. Please keep this between us. I wouldn't want anyone else to know. I'm not sure about that. But wait. The news back then said that the girl was saved by the son of the police commissioner. But you? No, that's not me. If it were, I wouldn't be working under you now. Right, that makes sense. If you think about it calmly, people who storm into places with their faces covered aren't going to reveal their identities on media like TV. But since everyone was saying it, I believed it too. I know this might be rude to say, but honestly, who cares who saved her? The important thing is she was saved. That's not okay. Suddenly, Editor-in-Chief Sanders raised her voice. If it weren't for them, I don't know what would have happened to me. They were the ones who saved my life. I've always hated the thought of not being able to thank them. So initially, when I saw the news about that time, I wrote a letter to the commissioner's son thanking him for saving me. But then, no reply, right? You don't even know if he received your words of thanks. Exactly. But now it all makes sense. There was no way I'd get a reply from the commissioner's son, because he wasn't the one who saved me. Yes, that would be the case. So, why did you leave that job? Are you asking that? I think you would understand if you worked with me. My right hand is my dominant one, but since I can't move it well anymore, returning to that kind of work was out of the question. That's true. I thought she was quite emotional. One moment she was raising her voice, and now she was quiet again. I want to thank you for today. Thank you for helping me. But honestly, I feel conflicted. It feels like I've been deceived by you until now. I didn't mean to deceive anyone. I can't quite grasp all of this. I'm sorry. See you tomorrow. In the end, she left the scene almost as if fleeing. As I watched her receding figure, I thought to myself how uncontrollable things can be. I knew it all along. The place where I worked, where I was, there's no such thing as credit. It's not something that should be out in the open, nor is it a good story to tell. That's why I've always been aware and prepared to be a background player. Regarding the commissioner's son, honestly, I don't care. In my line of work, saving lives is part of the job. Not hearing thanks or acknowledgement from those we save is something I had long accepted. Yet, being told to my face that I feel like I've been deceived does make you think, in its own way. I had always compartmentalized work as just that. That was my role, and that was where I stood. But now things are different. By stepping in today, she learned the truth. If someone finds out that a significant event in their life, one they had been told about by others, was actually a lie, anyone would be somewhat shocked and feel betrayed, to some extent. Even so, still, I don't regret my past actions, nor what I did today. Nor do I regret how I will continue to be in the future, unchanged. My father, who has already passed away to heaven, taught me this. Humans are meant to help each other live. Just waiting to be rescued by someone isn't really helping. That's what I always try to be, the first to lend a hand when someone is in trouble. I love my father dearly. I've always cherished these words from my father, who lost his life when I was young. That won't change. For someone in trouble, I will keep running hard and extend my hand as much as possible. Even if both my arms become disabled, that would be okay. If I can protect someone's smile, my arms are a small price to pay. The next morning, for some reason, I was called to a cafe near my workplace. The person who called me was. I've been thinking a lot since then. Yes. I wanted to talk a bit more. Talk. Editor-in-Chief Sanders. She frowned and stared down at her coffee with a troubled expression. You were the one who saved me, right? Truly. Yes, that's correct. Why was it reported like that? I can understand if it was just for appearances, but why didn't you tell me the truth? Well, about that. I thought for a moment. But well, it might be better to be honest about that. I thought. I wasn't doing that job to be thanked by anyone. That's admirable. So, who saved whom? It really didn't matter to me. That's part of it, and it's also largely due to organizational structure. But that's not the truth. You're right. When you first saw me, did you realize I was the girl you had saved? Maybe a little, but it has been quite some time since then. Right. A silence followed. Plus, I never imagined that the girl from then would grow up to be so beautiful. Hey, what are you saying? Stop it. Her face turned noticeably red as she showed a slightly embarrassed expression. Anyway, I can forgive you for deceiving me. I wasn't really trying to deceive you. You didn't tell me the truth. Can't you see what I'd say you were deceiving me? Well, I suppose that's one way to put it. But look, you've saved me not just once, but twice. So, well, if you come along with me after this, I might let it slide. Really? Well, I've just finished a job yesterday, so I guess I'm free. Right. Let's go then. Where are we going? Just come along quietly. With that, she quickly left the cafe. Am I being left behind? Thinking that if I didn't follow her now, she would probably have something else to say, I decided to follow her out of the cafe. Surprisingly, Editor-in-Chief Sanders led me to the president's office. Excuse me. Come in. As we entered the room and greeted following her lead, a smiling president was watching us. I brought him. Yes, but you seem a bit late, don't you think? Just a few things I wanted to ask beforehand. Is that so? Well, if you say so, that's fine. Now, let's get straight to it, Mr. Carter. It seems you've saved my daughter several times. Taken aback by his sudden remark, I froze. Huh? Are you okay? You seem a bit stiff. When you say your daughter, didn't you know? Miss Sanders is my daughter. What? Yes. Don't shout so unexpectedly. Well, anyway, you've saved my daughter twice now. So, I really wanted to say thank you properly. That. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. I heard about it from my daughter yesterday. Everything. About when she was kidnapped as a little girl, and also about yesterday. I thought we agreed to keep it between us. Glancing secretly at Miss Sanders standing next to me, she was glaring at me intensely. I feel like I should be the one getting angry here. So, I do want to thank you, but there's also something I want to propose or rather ask of you. A request. Yes. I mean, this is also her wish. We're thinking of going public with the truth. Publicizing the truth. That means talking about how I saved her back when I was still part of the organization. I'm no longer with the organization, but there are still various confidentiality obligations and such. I can't just nod in agreement. Sensing this, the president continued, stepping closer. Of course, I'm not saying you leaked any information. It will probably come out eventually though. I suppose so. But you know, our company's motto is to report the facts as they are. You understand that, don't you, since you are working with us now? Yes. I don't want to demean anyone. I don't want to put you on a pedestal either. It's not about prioritizing profit either. This is, in a way, my own stubbornness. Stubbornness. Yes, stubbornness. I take pride in our job of conveying the truth, and I want to stick to that. I think it's wrong to keep silent once we know the facts. Reporting independently of anyone. Reporting not influenced by personal gain or loss. The right to know. That's the first thing you learn at this company. The words that Editor-in-Chief Sanders often says are surely a reflection of the words and will of her father, who is also the president. No matter what the consequences might be, it is what people think and do after seeing our reports. It might sound irresponsible, but perhaps that's exactly what journalism is all about. Reporting the circumstances of a disaster, broadcasting information about an incident. There are no ulterior motives there. Just words broadcast to those who want to know. He made that proposal because he values it highly. How about it? Is this wrong? Is this just my ego? It could be seen as ego, but I believe no one can completely rid themselves of their own ego. Wanting to help someone is the same thing for me. Some might see it as ego. I'm aware of it myself. But the fact remains, by acting on that ego, there are lives that are saved. You have a way of speaking quite cunningly, don't you? Well, I guess I can accept that as a yes. I haven't done anything. How it's perceived is not up to those who broadcast, but to those who receive. Right. I looked at the president and Editor-in-Chief Sanders. Both gave me an astonished look. Good or bad. The truth, or in other words, reality, will be exposed to the light of day. Revisiting past reports isn't such a big deal. But if that becomes part of the cornerstone of a nation, then the story changes. How many years has it been since the news reported that the son of the police commissioner saved a hostage from a kidnapper? That fact was incorrect. Our newspaper reported that article. Naturally, it was an exclusive scoop. In disclosing this information, I set conditions. However, they were just two simple things. Still, if you hadn't set strange conditions, you could have become famous overnight. Don't use my name. Don't falsely criticize the son. Those are important. Oh, and about the commissioner's son, who initially spread the rumor that he saved me. It seems he and his father are in a bit of trouble. Well, they lied, so it can't be helped. Wow, I kind of feel bad now. She handed me the newspaper with an astonished expression. If your name had been released, this day would have come much sooner. Put yourself in my shoes, who worked hard for this. I am truly grateful. Thank you very much. Just kidding. I'm the type to return a favor as soon as possible. If it had been true, I could have returned it much sooner if someone hadn't misled. I've said it many times, but I didn't deceive anyone. Okay. Well, you'll be in rehab soon after the surgery, so for now, I'll respect your wishes. Editor-in-Chief Sanders, or rather Anne, and I are at the hospital. She and the president went out of their way to find a doctor who could treat my right arm. Given that it involves the latest medical technology, there were significant concerns about the cost, but somehow, they are treating me for free, although I'm not sure how that worked out. This isn't some sort of human experiment, right? Again. What? You're being so formal. Well, it's about after the surgery. Yeah. I pulled out a small box from the drawer in the hospital room. Will you marry me? And was taken aback for a moment, then frowned and turned away with her face turning red. If you promise you won't deceive me anymore. I won't. There's no need for that anymore. Okay. Then, ask me again after the surgery. It was her way of hiding her embarrassment. But I think she was pleased. I realized I'd have to propose to her again, but I decided to take it as a goal to strive for. Mr. Carter, it's about time for you. Oh, Mrs., could you come here for a moment? Yeah. You're eager, aren't you? It seems Anne wasn't entirely displeased. Maybe she's not entirely displeased. I thought better of asking her directly, as I might get punched, so I just held back my laughter and watched her walk away.